I've just got several questions, sort of all over the place, so don't mind me. So the first question, really, this is kind of a blunt question, but with everything you've done in your career and, the way things have gone with some of your former projects and the fact that they're still out there, do you ever get tired of seeing yourself on TV? Because at this point, you're kind of on TV all day, every day, somewhere.
I actually don't usually watch my own TV, anything I've done. That's why it's really fun to do Rick and Morty, because you get to be an animated, drawn lady. Yeah, I mean, I feel obviously we feel extremely lucky that that I got to do, Scrubs, and that was one of my favorite jobs of all time. And but yes, it's in reruns, crazy reruns now.
Mm-hmm.
My little sister's at medical school, and so even her, she's 26, and so even her group of friends have watched it. So it's crazy.
Okay. So follow-up question to that, you found your way to voiceovers, and beyond not, having to be on TV the way you've been on TV exactly for all this time, is it kind of a freeing thing for you to be able to sort of just be able to play with your performance and play with your voice? Is it a different kind of freedom that you get from doing something like this versus having to be on camera?
Oh, totally. It's such a different way to work, and I really love it. And that's why I kind of really wanted to do more of it. It's basically like, if you're on set and you ask to do another take, you're really asking 100 people and 100 crew members to do another take with you, whereas in animation you're in a sound booth, and usually you're not recording with the other actors. At least it's different on every show, but usually you don't. And on Rick and Morty we don't all record at the same time. And so if you want to try something different, like you can literally try a line, 10 different ways in a minute. There's a lot of creative freedom, and it's fun to try different, even auditioning for different cartoon voices. You try in a ton of different ways and try different voices, and it's a really fun, creative, liberating way to act. And I actually did a kids' Christmas cartoon for Disney called Prep and Landing, and my son was like 3, and he didn't really know it was me at the beginning, and we would be playing, and he would really get upset if I would do different voices when we play. He'd be like, "Mom, talk in your normal voice." So he was obsessed with this cartoon, Prep and Landing. We had the stuffed animals, and we were playing with them, and I was doing the voice of McGee while we were playing, and he's like, "Mom, that is not what McGee sounds like." And I'm like, "You know what? This one I'm pretty sure it is what it sounds like, okay?" But yeah, it's really fun. I mean, I would love to try it one time where you're actually recording with the other actors. I think that would be kind of cool, and getting to go back and forth. But for the most part, they don't, just time wise.
Is it a challenge to go from, beyond everything that you've already talked about? Is it a challenge to have to learn how to sort of perform and emote using just your voice, not necessarily knowing exactly what the visual is going to be? Or
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you totally have no idea usually. I mean, sometimes we get full scripts, and the Rick and Morty scripts are actually, they're so brilliant. I love them, and it's so fun to get, I get excited to read the new episodes that come out. Dan and Justin are ridiculously talented, and so the scripts are actually very descriptive, since it's sci-fi, and they are really descriptive. So after we got to see the animation from season 1, and you get an idea of what it's going to look like, you can kind of start to imagine it. But it's true. It is a different way to work, where you're kind of like just you and a microphone, and there's supposed to be like a giant monster chasing you, and you're just screaming, or or doing exactly like you say, like some emotional scene where you're supposed to be trying to like gear up. Yeah, it's definitely
Okay.
definitely.
I wanted to ask your opinion just about like the state of animation and working in an animated show now. I think, like, if you looked back in time, there was probably a point where that sort of thing was looked at as a step down for that to be a regular gig for someone who has a name like yourself. And then I think there was a point where it just sort of became like this kitschy kind of like, oh, I'm going to pop up and be a guest star on this show. But do you think now it's sort of like animation and shows like this have reached the point where they're good enough that it's just looked at as a legit, respectable piece of work, just like anything else that you've done in your career?
Oh, totally. I mean, for me, it's the opposite. Like it's something coveted. Like I auditioned for this, I really wanted it, and I think TV and movies, I think it's all changing. I mean, it used to be that like there was no crossover between people who did movies and people who did television, and now television is so incredible with all the different platforms and a lot of incredible writers and directors coming to TV. So I think it's changed right across the board. But I think with animation, yeah, I mean, it's it's something that I am, and so many of the actors I know, will go and fight for and audition for, and because it's such a fun thing to do. It's such a fun way to work, and when it's kids shows, it's something that's really fun to do for your kids, to be able to do something that they can watch, and then when it's something like Rick and Morty that has such a cult following, and to get to work with Justin and Dan and with their writing. I mean, their writing is so great. So yeah, I think it definitely is changed.
Okay, cool.
But I guess I never thought the other way because I really wasn't a part of it then. So for me, it was just kind of like I remember I auditioned for Rick and Morty from a friend's cabin up in Canada, and Justin and Dan were on the other end of the phone, and I'd sent in like a voice record, like a voice memo, but then I did the callback on the phone with them from this cabin, and there's like dogs barking in the background and kids running by screaming, and I'm like trying different things on the phone.
Okay. So I got one more kind of a two-part question for you, but before I get to that, because you're hitting the Canadian thing so hard, I have to ask you, I've heard Degrassi High has come to an end. Are you okay?
Am I okay? No one's okay. No one in Canada is okay. I think it's going to be a while. Before anyone's okay.
Okay.
We have the reruns. We have the memories,
Always have the memories, yeah. Okay, so two-part question for you. First of all, everything you've done in your career, of course, your stuff lives on forever. Roseanne, Scrubs, How I Met Your Mother is going to be in syndication forever. What role do you think was like your biggest leap as far as where your career was beforehand and where it ended up?
I mean, I think for me, probably the biggest growing experience, acting-wise, and just was on Scrubs, because it's like, I was started when I was 24, and I just moved to Los Angeles, because when I was on Roseanne, I was actually just commuting.
Right.
Back and forth. I still lived in Canada. So for like, I just moved to LA 2 months before the Scrubs pilot, and so I feel like I kind of spent like a lot of my 20s on that show, and then, getting to work with Bill Lawrence and then all the other actors on that show, like I just learned so much every day by working with them, and so much about comedy and about timing and about it was the first single camera show I think I worked on, and just how that was so different than working in front of a live audience, and but definitely each of them, were such a like unique experience. Like Roseanne was my first job, and really, other than I grew up in Vancouver, so it was kind of like Hollywood North, and there was tons of filming up here. But my first chunk of my resume is like every Disease of the Week movie you can imagine, like Moment of Truth, semicolon, Stand Against Fear, Dying to Belong, Our Mother's Murder, Relentless, The Mind of a Killer, AKA. Like there's always an AKA because they start out as something and then come up with some other title. I was actually comparing Disease of the Week movies with another Canadian actor the other day. Both of our starts, both of our resumes, the first chunk is all of these, which was it was a great place to a great way to learn what it's like to be on a set and what continuity means, and like I remember the first time I was like, I think I was 15, and I was in a time period, it was like a 1900s time period thing, and I bump into somebody and drop a bunch of packages, and then kind of like I'm flustered, and I'm picking up these brown wrapped, all identical, different shapes though, but all brown wrapped packages. And we did a second take, and I remember the script supervisor coming up to me and saying, okay, so on this word you picked up this package, then on this word you picked up this package, on this word you picked up this package, and when you drop them, this one's scattered over here, this one's scattered over here. And I remember thinking she was joking. I was like, what are you talking about? I have to do it exactly like that the second time. Pick up that package that looks pretty much like that package on this word and this one on this word. And so yeah, it's a learning curve at the beginning, and it was a good way to...
Education.
Yeah, totally. Cool.
All right. So one last question for you. Out of everything you've done, because you've done so much more than this, I think a lot of the shows that people know you best for, what would be one thing that you would point people to say, guess what? I can also do that.
I got to do an off-Broadway play, which was really fun and really cool. It was a couple of years ago. Oh, but I guess, yeah, do you mean something that people could actually go and watch?
Well, okay, we'll assume there's a bootleg of this floating around somewhere.
It was called Modern Orthodox, and I replaced Molly Ringwald because she was leaving the production, so I joined at that time, and directed by James Lapine, and it was such a crazy, fun, and terrifying and wonderful experience. I had